This is Today's Business Leaders. Actionable advice from real-world professionals. And now here's your host, Gabe Arnold.
All right, today with us I have my friend Zach Ellison. He's the founder of zeskup.com. That's ZESKUP.com. And today we're going to hear a little bit about his story, how he got started, why he founded that company, and also I'm going to pick his brain and learn a little bit more about what he's found to be successful in sales and in entrepreneurship. So thanks for being with us today, Zach.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, so I always like to, in the beginning, just kind of give everybody a little bit of a background about, who you are and kind of how you got started. So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how that led to, starting Zeskup.
So when I first started, it was actually about 5 years ago, and I was kind of testing new things. I had been on the national team for rowing before that, and kind of wanted to do my own thing. I had done a few corporate jobs in sales and didn't really enjoy it. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. So I actually kind of went into the financial tech realm, working with point of sale systems as well as peer-to-peer lending platforms. And then I really got into consulting other startups, working in kind of like marketing strategy and business strategy. So I felt the need to kind of start my own company. And that's kind of where Zeskup came. So over the years, there was a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily say failures, but I had one pretty, I don't want to say bad, but a different business partner. And that's kind of where I decided to kind of branch out on my own and build my own team kind of with Zeskup. Because before that, the previous team, we're doing about 200,000 to 250,000. We're doing a lot of tech projects every 2 months. So, we're doing really well, but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of work with people from the ground up and kind of help them, formulate their business in a way that was going to be scalable and not just kind of one and done format, which is what the previous business was. I wanted to kind of work with them in the beginning, through the middle portion, and then obviously after, helping them with, scaling and making sure that they don't hit a plateau.
Excellent. That makes sense. What do you think is, with your experience of obviously kind of the company that you were involved in before that wasn't a fit, and now you're really focused on helping, entrepreneurs go from idea to actually being able to scale up. What do you think is the challenge or the struggles or things that you've seen where, like, give me an example where somebody had a good idea, but they were going about it the wrong way so that they weren't going to be able to scale? Whereas if you get involved and help them, what's the difference in that path, compared to a strategy that actually helps you scale up to a bigger size?
So, yeah, I mean, so first of all, there are a lot of ideas, but being able to fully recognize how and what and why that idea is actually going to be successful. A lot of people forget about even little things, accounting, legal. They forget about the software. They forget about paying for servers. They forget about adding the right individuals. I mean, there's so many different things, and I've been there before too. It was like, hey, one of my first startups was actually for rowing, and it was kind of, hey, I have this great idea of connecting rowing machines, so let's do this, and let's kind of build the initial component. Let's get the MVP out. And then it was, we forgot about this. We forgot about the fact that, if we have X amount of individuals, it's going to cost us much on a server. Do we have this funding? At the same time, we didn't even set up we kind of went as an LLC and not a C Corp. So there's so many different things that kind of, went into play that you had to almost take a step back and be like, we didn't count this as an expenditure. We didn't count, all these different things, all these different people that you have to bring in, and you can outsource all you want. But if you're in the middle of already kind of having a product out there, it's actually really hard to, finalize those things and get the right people on board instead of doing that in advance and having kind of a team set up so that each and every aspect is covered. So that's for me was kind of the biggest thing, between just having an idea. You can have a good team, make a good mobile app, or maybe a SaaS, whatever it may be. Maybe it's even a physical product, but there's so many other things that kind of get thrown aside. And those happen to be things that can kind of stop a business. They can actually, stop you from being successful.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So do you think where do you think that like the struggles for people, is it just lack of experience, so they don't even know to think about those things, or do they not have a good format of how to structure something? Because I've had plenty of people come to me with the ideas too, and then just like you said, they forget something critical, like, oh yeah, you're going to need a server for that, or you're going to need a system, administrator, because you're talking about, thousands of users and all this backend that needs to be monitored. How does somebody that has an idea take the right step forward in covering all those areas we talked about, from team to technical? I mean, there's a huge spread of little details that only an experienced, founder would know.
So this is what I think. I think if you are doing a startup, if you're able to look at yourself and say, I'm good at X amount of things, but I don't know everything about these things, or I'm not a professional in these things, you have to be able to, and willing to accept that, and be able to kind of push yourself to getting the right people on the team. Now, they don't need to be long-standing team members, and I think that's also another common problem that people think. They think, oh, I need a full-time CTO. I need someone that's going to do, audits for the code. Like I said, let's say it's a mobile app or SaaS. They think they need to hire all these people full-time and give them parts of the equity. They think, all these different kind of pieces are actually needed, and a lot of them are, but they don't need to be a fully formulated part of the next 3 years, which is typically, how most startups, just kind of look at. So if you're a founder, if you have a great idea, if you've gotten something that is actually viable, it has conceptual merit, you have to be able to kind of look at yourself and think, okay, I can get myself to this point. What do I need to get to the next point? And that, to me, with a lot of the startups I've worked with, or a lot of the companies I've worked with, who are, 2 years in, they were able to kind of realize, okay, this is how I move forward. I need experience in, this realm. I need a new development team. I need to add this to the team. And if you're able to realize that, you may be getting profits right away, but if you don't put that back into the company, you're kind of a one and done. You kind of get to a certain point where you're going to make money, but you're not going to be able to really do anything with it, especially after, maybe you're getting a lot of people saying, hey, maybe you're throwing surveys out there. Maybe you've got your marketing automation down right, where people are starting to, contact you, and you don't have a strong customer service team. That was a problem actually with another company that I had worked with. Was they did everything right except for the customer service, and you have enough people not be answered, it throws everything, down the drains, basically.
Yeah, no kidding. In the startups that you've started, what has been your greatest strength? Like, what have you focused on since you're good at it? And then comparatively, like, how have you brought in other people to kind of supplement your weaknesses? Because I think that's excellent advice, like really just being objective and saying, hey, I'm great at these things, but I'm probably not so good, or maybe even horrible at other things. How has that worked out, like, for you in the past?
So for me, first of all, it didn't work out in the past for a few. It was me kind of saying, I can do everything. I can figure this out. I can watch a few videos. I can do this, and that. And I was kind of stubborn, so it didn't work out. But what I figured out was, okay, the main thing that I feel you need is a strong marketing strategy, very strong marketing strategy. And you need to do everything you can to work on your business, not in it. And when I first started a few, I was working too much in the business, and I wasn't able to kind of take myself out of the day-to-day things and kind of think, okay, this is our new addition. This is what we need to have. This is the general explanation of what we're doing, but I need to have a more thorough. I need to kind of look at every single aspect. Do I need new UI? Do I need a better format? Do I need more automation? Whatever the case may have been, when you get stuck in your business, you can't really work on it. And I would say for me, you could have a good SaaS software, a good mobile app, but if you have a bad marketing strategy, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, because there are hundreds of these apps being thrown out there daily. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you have a bad software system, but you have a good marketing strategy, you can actually get people to sign up, but you're not going to do too well. So you have to find that middle ground of putting money into the business through marketing, getting the right branding, getting the right feel, for the app, allowing people to truly use your software. At the same time, you need to be very, very focused on making sure that whatever your startup is, it functions properly. Because if you throw out, software without a strong beta, a strong testing, a strong, QA, all these different things, you're going to fail. It's very common because so many businesses get it right now, where they push the idea of, okay, maybe we're not launching this month. Maybe we need an extra 4 weeks to do testing, and our marketing strategy isn't up to par. We're going to wait. We're going to wait this out. We're going to be kind of headstrong. And for me, if you get the marketing strategy right, you take time to do proper audits, you make sure that your code is up to par, or if it's a physical product, whatever the case may be. I would say for me, the marketing strategy, truly putting money into your business for that it has been. It's been the biggest change for me.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I think you're right too. Obviously without really strong marketing and depending on how you're selling or how big your product, the cost of your product is, your sales piece of it is key. Because I always say, like, which isn't true, which you just point out, but I always have this thing like sales cures all. In some senses it does, but then you're right. Like, if you haven't actually solved the real problem with having a product that actually fixes the issues or solves the problems or is a high quality product, then you can be the best salesperson in the world or have the best marketing plan ever, and you're still going to end up in trouble, like you said. So it is a marriage of both both parts, which makes sense. So that's definitely great advice, and I'm glad you just kind of share that you didn't get it right in the beginning, and you kind of try to do things all yourself, or you were just going about it. And I'm sure at that time probably the best way you knew how, because for me too, I've had that same experience. You start out and you do the best you can, but the longer I'm in the game of entrepreneurship, I realize that I can grow a lot faster and more successfully by bringing in partners that are good at what they do. Like in my business, in my business, it's I am not any good at doing the accounting work or doing the financials or something like that. I can put together a strategy, and I can sell whatever comes in my way. But when it comes down to actually like managing the money like a CFO should, that's what my partner's for, because I'm just absolutely horrible at that. There wouldn't be a business without. So,
and that's the thing. Like that's always been the frustrating thing for me too. It's like you hear all these stories about startups fail and you're going to fail before you have success, and the way I kind of went in was, okay, I've found out basically what I thought was everything that causes a startup to fail. There's no way I'm going to. I have a good idea. I'm working in a great niche, and then it just, it kind of falls in on you, and you realize, wow, this is not easy. You can have a great idea, you can have all these things, but if you don't have all the parts together, you're not going to be successful. And maybe you will. Maybe there is that, the few people that just get lucky. And that's what it is, because like I said, the competition's unreal. You look at what you think is going to be a great niche, and you can get everything right, but at the same time, if you don't have everything firing on all cylinders, you're just not going to be as successful as you could be. And you may be, leaving sometimes thousands, sometimes millions on the table just by not reaching out, putting money back into the business, and finalizing on those kind of extrinsic concepts that are going to allow you to be successful.
Yeah. No, that's very, very, very true. If it was, I mean, I always say if it was easy, everybody would do it and they do it successfully, but business is extremely challenging. That's what I love about it. But man, I have a stack of thousands of bad ideas that I've gone through over the years because
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
either it was a horrible idea or I just executed on it horribly. And those are kind of the two pieces that definitely have to be there. From a looking back at everything you've done so far, what was like the absolute worst day that you had from a sales perspective or an entrepreneurial perspective, or like what was a day looking back that you said, man, I don't ever want to experience that again?
I think the worst day was kind of botching a pretty big project that was in the financial tech realm, and we had everything together, and I mean everything. And there's a thing called PCI compliance.
Yep.
And we had, we thought we had everything together, right? We started doing sales and doing all these things. Well, that kind of audit rolled around, and, basically a portion of the team didn't, and obviously, I'm overseeing part of it, so this is my fault too, but we didn't have the proper compliance. We didn't have the proper steps needed. We didn't push enough to get enough audits on the code to make sure that everything was going to be, within legalities. And it was I think it was something, I can't even remember the amount, just because that's kind of where I was like, I'm done. I'm done being an entrepreneur. I had this great idea, and now we have this long audit. It was over $50,000
Jeez.
to have everything kind of come together. We had to go through all the books. It was a close to 5-month process, and a lot of people that had put money into it all of a sudden were saying, hey, this is ridiculous. What happened? Why all of a sudden we're doing so well, we're hitting all these benchmarks, and then something like that pops up, and it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And that was kind of where it wasn't just one day. It was like a week of getting phone call after phone call saying, hey, this is wrong. Hey, we didn't do this. Hey, this this team member, forgot this part. Where were you? And that was a while ago for me. So it was after that day that I had kind of like, it was honestly a low 2 weeks, to be honest with you. And then you start realizing, okay, you can actually fix this. Like, this has happened before
Right.
to other companies, but after that I realized, okay, this is where I need to, realize every single step that you think you have under control, there's probably another 5 that you don't. So, as we've said before in this conversation, make sure you get the right people, because if you miss smallest things or what you think are small things, they could end up being very, very big things. It's like not paying taxes on time. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
For business.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds like it was quite the uncomfortable learning situation, to say the least.
Oh, it was out of control. Yeah.
Brutal, man. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, the good word, word of warning to pay attention to things like that, for sure.
Yeah.
Comparatively, what's been your absolute best day or one of the best days that you've had, as an entrepreneur?
I think with some of my current software, so it's in property preservation, and I went into it with more focus on the customer, not necessarily on the money. And the money's there. That's fantastic. But we've actually developed a system that is making people email or call or message that said to say, hey, this is fantastic. This makes my job easier. And it's in a kind of stratosphere where it's not an easy job for them. It's actually pretty difficult, right? So they're the 1099. I call them the 1099 warriors, right?
Yeah.
They get paid off of someone else, and they can do as many jobs as they want or as little. But in the past, in this specific field, they weren't getting the technology aspect to kind of work for them. In essence, to me, is kind of working against them. So that to me has been, the biggest thing. We've been, doing beta testing for that, getting people to use the system. It's just been fantastic. Like they've truly enjoyed it. It's made their life easier. We put it on a great server. We're using AWS. I can't say enough about that. And it's really kind of automated their work, so they're able to do more for less. And that to me has been just fantastic, because finally, obviously the money's great, but when you hear from real people that are actually using your system, it's so cool to think this person downloaded my application and then the software for the back end work, and they're truly enjoying it. Like, it's actually making a difference for them. So that to me kind of really boosted things. It allowed me to think of more successful ways. Not again, obviously we're in this for profit. It's a business. Like, we want to make money,
Right.
but the whole goal now for me is, how can I do both things at the same time? How can I get these people, better service for them? How can I truly think about the customer, not only from a technical perspective, but that whole customer service perspective? And that's such a huge thing now. You look at all these other companies out there that have automated processes and have made, a lot easier, like, to do taxes, to do, CRM, to do all these different things, like Salesforce, like all these different companies. They make it easier for the customer. And I can say I'm a part of that now, which is, I got the first few kind of emails, and it's not like we even asked them to. It's just like, hey, the system's great, thanks. Obviously, you get a few bad ones here or there. It's like, hey, I don't know how to use this part. But
Right.
To me, that was fantastic. It truly kind of changed the game and kind of put me into the startup even more.
That's awesome. Yeah, when you get unsolicited, like, "We love what you're doing" emails, you're actually solving a real problem.
Exactly.
I send some of those, here and there throughout the year when I find something and I'm like, "This is amazing. I love it," and it works just the way it should. Like, then you've really nailed it. So that's awesome. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate all the time, Zach. Before we wrap up, two things. Number one, if there's like one line or quote or a little bit of advice that you like to share with entrepreneurs that are getting started, what is that? And then after that, what's the best way that people can reach out to you and work with you?
I would say this: think outside yourself when you're doing a startup. You want to have the idea, but as we've talked about before, realize that other people are going to be able to do things better than you. And that's frustrating, because I think a lot of people are in the same mindset that I'm in. You want to be the best at everything. You want to have, this kind of, drive to be successful at whatever you do. But look for, take any advice you can, especially any free advice, and run with it. Take criticism. And I know that's not one line, but I feel like there's a lot of lines that I've gotten over the past so many years to kind of get me to where I am. So I would say any advice is good advice. Take it and leave it. It's very, very helpful.
Terrific. Well, thank you. And what's the best way that people can reach out to you and work with you?
They can check my website out at zeskup.com. And our property preservation software is zeskpro.com. And that's set to launch in, I think, another 2 weeks. So we're finishing up beta. And I know real original with the Zeskup and Zest Pro, but I like the name. So
No, it's cool. It has a nice ring to it. I like it. It stands out. So.
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for being on with us today, Zach. I appreciate your time and your insight. I know everybody listening is going to enjoy it, and definitely reach out to Zach. Again, you can reach him at zeskup.com. That's ZESKUP.com. And we'll have you on again soon, Zach. Thank you very much.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thanks again.
You've been listening to Today's Business Leaders with Gabe Arnold. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. For more information, visit todaysbusinessleaders.com.